So today I made about $7,000 day trading. I think it's safe to say I'm starting to experience what you would consider my breakout in trading, right? Whatever it was that was holding me back doesn't really feel as significant. I feel like I understand what I'm looking for. What we're going to do today is I just want to break down a couple of the trades that I took. If we look at TradeZella, this is the P&L for the trade. Boom, 5,000, 1,800 as well. But the trade itself was based on this simple structure. Knowing that we're in a range on the daily, I was really looking for either a break above the range this morning or a failure at the highs, which I personally was liking the downside more than the breakout, but it took a minute for this thing to work. So I'll explain the logic of how I got in and what it was about. Essentially, I had a long right here. It worked until it didn't, right? It came back break even. Right here essentially is where it gets stopped. So when this started to push above the 5-minute candle, the opening range high for the first 5 minutes, that's where I looked to take a short. So I was looking to see this then fall back in the range. Obviously, this ends up taking quite some time. As you can see, this is not like a short period of time. I was able just to hold the trade. My stop was at the highs. I risked about 600 initially. As soon as it broke the lows right here on this pullback, right about right here, I added. I don't know why. I was saying even in my group chat with a couple friends, I don't know why. Like I was fine with the risk, but it felt very like let's just add, right? So that did help with a little bit of the profits, obviously. However, it was a bold move. I was essentially pretty tight on the stop with my stop right here once I moved it, and from there I was able to ride this all the way down. I got some off at the lows and then I held some to the end of the day. Was trying to get a couple pieces at these highs to like add on for a push lower, and it just never materialized. So that was the setup. One thing I've been doing a lot lately is I'm trying to combine both ICT with volume profile. So I have a pretty extensive history trading volume profile, things of that nature, just coming from options. It was something I utilized quite often. However, I had not been keeping that on my charts recently just because I was just so used to trending markets. And now that we're kind of grinding at all time highs, I'm seeing a lot of value in understanding or with the ability to understand that price is either going to be in balance, they found acceptance, or it's going to be in a bit of a discovery mode. So when we are sideways and we're not willing to travel, we're not willing to displace, it's good to know where these concentrations of volume are statistically backed. It can kind of help you understand where levels might reject if they fail to reach an external target. So that's what I've been doing. But I think more importantly, the best contribution to forward progress from here is really just understanding that you could have the most perfect game plan, but if you do not accept the fact that it's from an imperfect game, you're going to struggle because markets will let you down all of the time. They can provide opportunity, but when you expect the best, you can end up running into a lot of pitfalls because ultimately trading is not something that is meant for perfection, but rather for you to be able to find some level of profitability. So, yeah, it's been an interesting kind of progression the last couple of weeks. I find myself not really worried about size. I'm not really apprehensive to trade size. It's all relative, of course, but I just don't notice there to be. I honestly, at this point, I'd rather have more size so I don't have to trade as big of a move, if that makes sense. Not for the sake of having size, but simply for the sake of the fact, for the sake that the market is not moving as far as I'm expecting it to in a lot of scenarios. So I'd rather just load up the size so I could be done earlier. So that's kind of where my head's at. I understand that my setups have a payout rate. They will work some amount of the time and they won't work some other time. But the one thing that will damage those stats the most is trying the same idea again, because you're going to essentially water down any sort of profitability you have and your numbers are going to look terrible on paper and in real life, right? So the one thing you can do with that is just focus on a couple key setups that you take. And if they don't work, don't try it again. If it's not working, it's either number one, it just was one of the instances that wasn't expected to work, That just happens, right? From random, assortment of wins and losses. But it could also be the fact that maybe you're expecting it to happen too quickly or too immediately, right? Like in the sense that there's no back and forth disagreement with buyers and sellers. It just goes in your favor. Markets can have a little bit of gray area where it kind of goes against you, kind of goes in your favor. If you expect it to be always on a one candle kind of, swing point turn, you might take a lot of stops. So you can also consider that maybe having a wider stop loss would just help you stay in that original idea, avoiding the loss in the first place. So those are just a couple of my thoughts, but basically just wanted to come on here and share where I'm at, try to get something back on YouTube, try to get a little more consistent with this. So if you like these types of videos, let me know, leave a comment. Tell me how your trading's been. I know it's been kind of a weird summer with the markets, but I'm kind of liking it, honestly. So yeah, until next time, take care. And as always, decipher the algo.